Kindred, your presence here violates the agreement between our leaders. Leave now, or face the consequences of your actions. There is an alliance between your leader LaCroix and Mistress Ming Zhao. You violate the agreement. If you do not leave, we are not responsible for your death. We'll give you one more chance to leave this place and keep your life. You will go? The time for decisions has passed. We Chang brothers accept your life graciously.
Outstanding. There was some doubt by members of my court as to your ability, but I placed my faith wisely. Finally, the Ankaran sarcophagus is ours. Come, I've granted Beckett's request to study and document all the markings of the sarcophagus. You've met Beckett, haven't you? Let's go take a look inside and see what the commotion around the city has really been all about. You will be rewarded for your work, I promise. Now, let's go open the sarcophagus. What? Preposterous! No kindred would trust them, nor would they trust us. Did Jack tell you that? Because it sounds like you've been taken for a fool. And you believed them? They've been trying to take over LA for years. It's a ruse, a falsehood, spread to undermine my rule and turn kindred against each other, thin our ranks. They are duplicitous, evil creatures. Did they not try to kill you? Insurance. They lied to you in case you lived through the encounter. They hoped to create dissension in the ranks, rumors. It's a trick older than you or I. I'll indulge your baseless paranoia no further. Let's open the sarcophagus. What have you assessed so far?
Unfortunately for the Heralds of Doom, it appears we won't be opening Pandora's box. The markings, as far as I can tell, are of Assyrian origin. An extraordinary piece, but nothing earth-shattering.
I see. Then there is no good reason why we shouldn't open it. Won't budge. Beckett, do you see any mechanism for the lid?
I haven't as yet had a chance to pore over it with my fine-tooth comb. I think I have one in my bag.
Why won't it open, Beckett? And you, I thought you said it looked as if it had been opened on the Dane. I want it open! You and Beckett, figure out a way to open it. I need to know what's inside. I have other matters to attend to. Come get me when a solution has been found.
Ah, the depths to which I'll sink to prove others wrong. The young ones get so temperamental. Fortunately for Sebastian, is it? I'd already made up my mind to open the sarcophagus, if only to show the city that Gehenna, contrary to popular belief, has not begun. In the last few seconds, I've had very few epiphanies. I may be old, but I didn't build it. How knowledgeable are you on ancient Assyrian funerary constructs? Fortunately for us, I know of someone who has distinguished himself in this field. His name is Dr. Anders Johansen, a professor of archaeology from Norway. He was the one responsible for finding the sarcophagus, and as far as I know, the only authority on its origin and design. Until yesterday, he could have been found in his suite at the Empire Hotel downtown. But when I stopped by earlier this evening, all I found was spilt coffee on a morning paper. Appears he's been abducted. I detected the scent of myrrh incense, which is usually burned in monasteries. Also, I found beach sand in part of a muddy footprint. Putting two and two together, I located a monastery near a beach in Malibu. where I believe hunters are holding Johansen captive. Actually, there were 2 hunters on the roof of the building opposite the hotel who were positively delighted to tell me everything they knew, provided I stopped dangling them headfirst over the side. The hunters abducted Dr. Johansen for his own protection, or at least that's how they've justified it. He's being held by the Society of Leopold and used, quite ingeniously, as bait for Prince Lacroix's minions. Sebastian mentioned you ran into one of the hunters from the Society of Leopold some time ago. They're so secret a church organization, I don't even think they know if they exist. But essentially they're murderers for Christ, or some such deity. You'll have to go to the monastery and find a way into the tunnels beneath where the hunters are holding Johansen. I'm afraid I can't accompany you, but then it's best you go alone. Too many of us might set them off, like fundamentalists on contrary opinion. I wouldn't recommend walking. Certainly Sebastian's already provided cab fare. I'm sure he always spares no expense when archaeology is at stake. Excellent. The Society, for the most part, knows very little about us, but they do know how to kill and torture us, and that's enough. Also, some of them exhibit powers that can make them quite formidable. Best not to announce yourself. Well, if we open it up and the world ends, then yes. If we open it up and the world does not end, then no. I'd wager the latter. How any sane kindred could think these poor unfortunates are an immediate threat to us is absurd. Most were afraid, or at the very least uneasy, around me. Tragic. Their desperation could very well hold the spark of revolution, however. I've said quite a lot about myself already. I know even less about you than you do me. Why don't you tell me about yourself? I consider myself a seeker of reluctant information. Scholar sounds like academia. Ugh. How versed are you in the occult? Then you wouldn't know that Dracula, the fictional vampire of movie fame, was very real. His real name was Vlad Tepes, and he was a Jamisi, though he was not Sabbat. By some accounts, he still lives into these nights. Unless you've got further questions, I'd really like to get back to looking at the sarcophagus. Excellent. Remember, Dr. Johansen is an innocent. He has no idea we actually exist. Try not to put the idea in his head.
Did you find a way to open the sarcophagus? I understand. I'm sure you'll find this suitable recompense. Which is... Traditionally, the Kuei Jin has stayed in Asian territory, and the kindred Europe, and later North America. But recently, they invaded the West Coast, killing off a substantial number of anarchs. They lack the organization of the Camarilla, and think nothing of breaking the Masquerade. Though we share similar traits, there is no fraternity between us. We embrace. They rise from the grave. They do not know the pleasure of blood. They are without clan. And oh yes, they believe our kind to be inferior. They are as much of a threat as the wolves. Werewolves. I can still recall a time when cities were surrounded by miles of forests full of the beasts. But progress has taken care of that problem. Which is... If you didn't take the time to ask, perhaps we'd know by now. As I mentioned before, my concern is that it pertains something supernatural, though Beckett has waived this theory altogether. The city is alight with dread. Perhaps it's an antediluvian. A joke? The antediluvians are the mythical progenitors of each of the clans for whom they trace their bloodlines, and according to mythology, descendants of Cain, the legendary first vampire. As in the biblical Cain and Abel? Before you put too much stock in it, realize that the church and all of its mythos are blends of kindred and mortal meddling, whips to regulate weak minds. This is all Beckett's field of expertise. If you want a lesson, merely ask him.
I wouldn't recommend walking. Remember, Dr. Johansson is an innocent.
Hey, honey, looking for a date? Ooh, I don't get to do women often, especially ones as cute as you, sugar. Tell you what, how's 40 sound?
Master? Okay.